Many know Clilia Davis for her musical background. She is a classically trained pianist and a lover of the arts. Clilia has an intellectual side as well. She's a young scientist and science educator who always enjoys a new challenge. She is pursuing an international Master of Medicine in Taipei Medical University in Taiwan. Please help us welcome her to Good Morning SKN's Connections. Clelia, it's our 100th guest appearance. Drum roll. Jamie is supposed to be giving me a drum roll, but he's not here right now. So congratulations.
Wow, thank you.
That's really, really exciting. So ni hao, that's the one thing I know.
Excuse me?
I said ni hao. That's the
Oh,
one phrase that I
oh,
know.
你好，你今天好吗？
Wow. Can you tell me what you just said?
How are you today? How are you
All
doing?
right, wonderful. So you are a classical pianist. I think I saw you on Christmas Day playing some of my favorite songs. And there are so many instruments to choose from. Why did you go with piano?
Piano. Well, I think my love for music started when I saw the organist, well, the former organist in my church way back when I was probably about 2 or 3. And I was just intrigued by the movement of the hands and the feet at the same time. And I always wanted to just go and play on the organ. And at that point in time, I didn't know the difference between a piano and an organ and a keyboard and all these things. But
I still
that
don't.
is that is what really sparked the interest. And then, over the years, starting music class, the main instrument back then was the piano. No, we branched out a lot, and different music teachers, they offer different instruments, but at that specific time, I don't know, I just love my black and white, keys, the sound and the tone of the piano, and how versatile it could be as an instrument. It's just truly a part of me.
It's definitely a different feeling. Like even hearing the sound that comes from a piano, it's totally different. The vibrations, I could understand. So, I mean, outside of playing the piano, you've been a music educator for 10 years, which I think is crazy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? You
Yeah,
have to be
sure.
like 15, clearly. So I don't know how you're teaching piano for 10 years.
I know. I went to the Earl Swanson School of Music, and things just took off from there. We normally partake in a specific curriculum, from the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music, which is based in London. So after, I would have gotten to a certain grade, Miss Winston would have said, clearly you could help out a little bit, help the little ones that's coming in, and that is where it really started, and it sparked off from there until she actually hired me as an assistant tutor. And then it just went from there, because it wasn't only at the music school where it taught, and it wasn't only piano. I used to direct different choirs and things like that. And even when I went to the University of the Virgin Islands in St. Thomas, I was the choir director and pianist for the junior choir there at one of the churches, Christ Church Methodist Church. And I mean, it just sparked from there, even in terms of not being a formal teacher, but even being a consultant. I would have consulted with persons like Lucas H.E. and things like that. And if anybody wants any sort of musical assistance or what should I say, encouragement, like they always want to call on me, and I'm more than willing to help. Even like pageantry, I would have assisted the former national queen had I in her performing talent.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's just a part of me, not only to play for myself, but I really enjoy imparting my knowledge and seeing other people blossom within their own rights.
That's amazing. And you mentioned Rukas HE, who was here with us some time ago. So is it
Mhm.
that it's not just classical music you're into?
Oh no, definitely not.
Because he's a
I
soca
started,
artist, classical
yeah,
soca, night and day.
not so much, right? So like I said, I started out with that, the jazz, the more vintage type music, and then I stretched my wings a little bit, and
Mm,
I ventured into being in a cover band as the second keyboardist. And even that experience in itself was like really great for me, because typically you don't see females being a musician in a band, you
true.
know.
Not here.
You Yeah, in St. Kitts and Nevis, like you would normally see them being the vocalists and things like that. So when I joined that band, my horizons were broadened tremendously in terms of the genres of music that I became much more comfortable playing. And that is why I like to say, like, I am on a wave, because I feel like I could move from one genre to the
To the
next. If
next.
it's organ music I'm playing in church, or the Mozart and the Beethoven, or if I just doing a bubble and a strum or something like that. Yeah, I love it all.
Okay. So let's venture a little bit more on the Clilia wave. You're currently
Mhm.
own a tutoring business, Discover Science Tutoring Services. How did that
Mhm.
get started?
Well, actually, it was sort of means to an end to solve our problem. So during my tenure at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, where I was a science lecturer, I realized that some of the students that would have came to my class, having done the CSEC portion of CXC and now coming up to CAPE, I realized that there was a big gap in terms of things like critical thinking, the laboratory skills that they had, and just the overall concept of knowing what a CAPE student is supposed to be and what they're
Mm.
supposed to be capable of. And so I said, let me try and bridge that gap and form this tutoring service. And that is where it sparked. So I started in my community of Keon, Green Valley. So I had some of my classes at the Keon High School first. And then, Corona hit. So I said, let me just try to do some outreach. So I offered 6 weeks free courses online.
Wow.
Anybody that wanted to join, because I know CXC was coming up as well. So I had a bunch of students, signing up and things like that. And even if it was one session that they did with me, because you could have booked any amount of sessions for the period, right? Just first come, first serve. And I had students know who were in my DSTS class who were now in my CFBC classroom, so I'm like, okay, well, the Miss Davis that you got when you were doing CSEC is not the Miss Davis that you're going to get when you're doing CAPE, and they're like, what are you telling me? I said, I'm the same person, but the level of difficulty definitely has increased. And you got to step up to the plate in order to be successful. And I always tell my students, like, when you come into my classroom, think about it as a job. You know what I mean? So that is how DSTS was formed. And even while I was here in Taiwan, I kept the classes going, but I'm on sabbatical right now because I'm actually in my full degree program. I did it last year because it was just during Chinese, but right now I'm on sabbatical from that for a little bit, so I could just focus on that, and then the STS is gonna be coming back even bigger and better than before.
Okay, that sounds amazing. So we're still continuing on the Clilia wave. You're currently involved in the cancer diagnostic research as a part of your thesis. Can you tell us
Mhm.
about that as well? Like, girl, you're doing it all.
Okay, so I enrolled this semester. Yeah, because it's just about to be done in September. And I rotated in a different lab actually when I started, and we were doing cell sheet engineering, which is basically like making tissues and things like that. So for instance, if you want something to like a piece of tissue for your knee, your cartilage, or your cornea, to replace something that would have gone maybe due to an injury or some sort of degenerative disease. That's the type of lab that I was working in. But I transferred to a cancer research lab because I have a particular interest in hematology and oncology. So, and specifically breast cancer research, just because of its prevalence and incidence, not only in St. Kitts and Nevis, but globally, and the more scientific side of me, I'm very problem solving driven. I'm very meticulous and I like to know
You
that I
have to
can
be.
solve a and I found a lab that was particularly close to my interest because I mean currently my grandmother, she's suffering from breast cancer, and my other grandmother, she passed as a result of that. So it's something that is very dear to my heart, and I have a particular interest in that, not just for the obvious reasons, but because everybody is doing something and I want to be able to find my niche. Like, what is there that is not being done as yet, and how can I contribute to that problem and be able to solve it efficiently? So, within my lab, we are looking at ways in which we can monitor breast cancer recurrence after surgery or any sort of treatment, and also to have some sort of target therapies for the more, let's say, serious or debilitating types of cancers.
All right. Well, again, we've been on the Clilia wave, and there's so much more we'd like to talk to you about. I'm sure there's so much things you could tell us about, but unfortunately, we've run out of time for today. So, Clilia, it was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Thank you.